from the Mercy One studio.
Support for Faith on Trial and Iowa Catholic Radio provided in part by Imogene Ingredients.
Our freedom of conscience and religion is being challenged by laws and regulations imposed by secular society. It's time to hear from the top Christian litigators in the nation who have come forward to tell us the truth and help us defend our faith.
Hear ye, hear ye. All rise. Faith on Trial with Defender of the Faith, Deacon Mike Mano, is in session.
And good Thursday morning from the Mercy One studios in West Des Moines. I'm Deacon Mike Mano, and I'm here with Gina Knoll. Morning, Gina. How are you?
Good morning, Deacon Mike. I'm very well. A little chilly out today, don't you think? It surprised me because it was so sunny. I thought it was nice, and I was clearly not dressed warmly enough.
We had some trees taken down in our backyard, and so now we've got a lot of light in the house, but we all have this wind that the trees would block that are
that
blowing
you can
up
feel
against the
now
house.
and
you can
hear
almost
it.
Feel, yeah. So it is a little different. It's fall.
Fall is here,
and we're ready to go. I think next week our landscapers are coming to finish off our backyard. So we will see.
You will be ready.
Yeah.
Well, you know that it's fall. It's time to vote.
That's right. Have you voted?
And
yet?
Elections matter.
Have you voted yet?
No, I have my ballot laid out on my desk. I have almost the front page completed.
Okay.
I like to do a little digging before I vote on the commissioners of the library or the Department of Natural Resources appointees and the judges. So I have to do a little bit more research before I finish my ballot.
Well,
yes.
we voted last week. Luann had a day off, and so we went downtown and we voted in the auditor's office. And cast our ballot. Didn't take us very long. It was an easy process. Just went in, showed them your identification. They pulled up your voter information. They put the sticker on a envelope that you use and gave you the ballot. And we went, filled them out. And
was it very busy? Did you have to wait very long?
We were probably in and out about, I suppose, from the time we got there, parked the car, and then got to the office, we were probably through there with our ballots in about 10 minutes and left.
So no line?
No, it wasn't. And there were a number of little cubicles that you can take your ballot into to mark it, privacy cubicles that they have. And it went fairly quickly.
It felt very safe?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Except I was down there with all those other people that looked like they may be voting to cancel me out, But other than that,
you can't make that judgment based on the look of someone.
I can make that the judgment on the basis of the looks they gave me.
Oh, I see. I thought you were going to tell me by the bumper stickers on their car.
No.
Well, it's still important to vote, and I'm glad you've gotten that completed.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I didn't like about it, though, I thought that once I voted, and they had my ballot in there, that it would stop all the phone calls and all the ads on TV coming across. But apparently it doesn't work that way.
They don't know it's over for you.
I was hoping it would be. The ads this year are just terrible. Everybody's a crook. Everybody hates everybody else. Everybody's trying to do something deliberately to hurt you. I mean, it's just...
I don't see much difference from the years before, but...
Well, the one thing...
Maybe our memory is such that we just don't recall the pain of previous years.
Remember the good old days because some of those elections we won.
Maybe that's why.
That made it better for us. But there's one congressional race that I see the ads for all the time. The two candidates' ads are almost identical to what they're accusing the other one of doing. So you look at that and think, what in the world?
Who's right?
Yeah, who's right?
I think it's based on an interpretation of their actions.
Well, especially
honestly.
when they talk about, this person voted so many times to do this. A lot of those votes that they're counting are procedural votes. They're votes on amendments. They're votes on a lot of other things that don't go necessarily to the question that they're talking about. But it cast as a no vote or an aye vote or whatever it is. So you really got to understand the mechanism of the House or the Senate and how they vote on things to understand whether did they really vote against that, or was that something else that was at play in there.
That's right. And I think Iowans are fairly well informed when it comes to elections, and I think that the ads bring issues to the forefront, but I do believe or want to believe that Iowans research before they take the word of the television 30-second blurb.
One of the problems I have with the ads, and I don't know if they can do this or not, but I know, just as a journalist in my once upon a time life, I always felt funny when I saw ads, and I still do, political ads during a newscast.
Oh.
I think ethically they shouldn't have those political ads during the newscast.
Well, you know what really is funny with the ads? I watched the congressional debate Monday night, and they took a break in the middle of the debate, and they were all U.S. Senate ads in the middle. I thought, feels wrong. That they should have something for kids' cereal or something at this point.
Yeah, it seems to me if you're trying to present a debate or you're trying to present the news, the unbiased, you don't want to go to a break and then have somebody come on and tell you what kind of a bad person it is that they're running against and all this other stuff. And the funny thing you'll see, too, they're spending a lot of money this year because you'll see an ad for Joni, you'll see an ad for her opponent, and you see another ad for Joni. I mean, they just string them along. I mean, who's going to be the last one to talk to you?
Yes.
And I don't.
Well, I'm sure the TV stations are glad to have the ad money. I understand it was a little slow there during the COVID pandemic shutdown. So I'm glad for them.
And I've been getting a lot of mailers, too.
Yes?
Yeah. Now, the mailers I don't feel so bad about, mainly because my dad was a printer. And I know that when these things come out, some printer is feeding his family doing that work. So
another silver lining.
And
the postal worker gets to continue to deliver them.
That's right.
And has a job delivering.
And he ended up as the manager of a factory that made envelopes. And so when I see all the junk mail come, I realize that I went to school on junk mail. The envelopes that were made. Tension Envelope Corporations, they're still here.
Tension, here in Des Moines. Yes, right. I remember that. Yeah, they are
They're still
good.
here.
Yeah.
That's
good.
All right.
Debate. Have you seen much of the Supreme Court hearings
yes,
for
I did.
Judge Barrett?
Yes, I did. What a wonderful, wonderful nominee she is. I mean, just she's head and shoulders above anybody on that committee. But was I right that Mazie Hirono is the stupidest senator in?
While I watched her Senator Hirono question Judge Barrett, I was flabbergasted, and then all I could hear in the back of my mind was Deacon Mike said that she is the worst of the worst.
Not necessarily the worst, just the stupidest.
Not very bright. Yes.
I don't think she's very bright at all. But
she makes me uncomfortable with her questioning. But but that's enough on her. Amy Coney Barrett is
apparently is not a sexual predator because Hirono asked her that.
Those were the questions. Yeah, I mean they were very uncomfortable. But so many of our daughters have such a great example of a mother, a practicing Catholic, a well-educated individual who's worked hard her entire life and never took her eye off the ball, from what I can tell. And I am just pleased as punch to have her as a mentor and example for our students.
She certainly checks all the boxes.
Yes.
Do we have?
You know what? She makes no apology for her success either.
We have a prayer to begin with.
We do.
There's somebody in Washington sitting by their desk waiting for our phone call here. So we want to
get going. Okay, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. God of peace, bring your peace to our violent world, peace in the hearts of all men and women, and peace among the nations of this earth. Turn to your way of love those whose hearts and minds are consumed with hatred. Strengthen us in hope and give us the wisdom and courage to work tirelessly for a world where true peace and love reign among nations and in the hearts of all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about a case that's going before the United States Supreme Court involving a Philadelphia adoption agency. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio.
Hi, this is Father John Ricardo, and I want to thank Caldwell Parish Funeral Home and Crematory for underwriting Christ is the Answer. Losing a loved one, as we know, is never easy, and it can leave you feeling lost and even hopeless at times. But Caldwell Parish helps ease that burden by sincerely caring both about your loss and about your faith. Caldwell Parish Funeral Home and Crematory is Des Moines' only Catholic-owned and operated funeral home. Their number is 515-276-0551 or online at caldwellparish.com.
Thank you, Blessman International, for their support of Iowa Catholic Radio. Everyone lives their life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. How we use that time directly affects if our life will leave a significant impact or not. Each year, Blessman International leads Central Iowans on a 12-day, all-inclusive experience sharing the heart of Christ with children in South Africa. Teams are forming to do something significant in an African child's life. Learn more at blessmaninternational.org. That's blessmaninternational.org.
Is it time for a new roof? Then it could be time for you to get to know Bell Construction. Bell Construction is a roofing company entering its 30th year of business. They specialize in residential re-roofs, light commercial jobs, and have the experience to meet all of your roofing needs with personal service. With Bell Construction, the owner will come to your home or place of business in person to inspect and ensure the quality of work that you deserve. They pride themselves in working with you on a personal basis and making sure you are satisfied. Bell Construction, 515-963-4494.
Thank you, Big Red Q Quick Print, for underwriting the sports report. Family owned and operated since 1980, Big Red Q Quick Print is a full-service print shop ready to help you with all your printing needs with speed and accuracy. Forms, manuals, brochures, letterhead, envelopes, business cards, custom invitations, design, and bindery. Big Red Q Quick Print, located across from Merle Hay Mall. Online at bigredq-desmoines.com. Big Red Q Quick Print. We make printing easy.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Catholic Tuition Organization.
Your support of CTO provides qualifying families tuition assistance to send their kiddos to our Catholic schools. They benefit, and you benefit, with 65% Iowa tax credits. Online at ctoiowa.org.
Until December 15th, contributions from new donors are matched. New donors double their impact with a donation to CTO, thanks to the Reichart Family Foundation.
The bottom line, it's for the kids and their future.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Faith on Trial provided by Paul Martin and Paul Mitchell, owners of Imogene Ingredients. Imogene Ingredients supply specialized feed ingredients for livestock and pet diets to improve maternal and young animal health in both conventional and organic production. And you're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio, and joining us this morning is Nick Reaves, counsel with the Becket Fund for Religious Liberty. Nick, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me.
Good. Well, thank you for showing up. I know you had a tight schedule this morning, and I certainly appreciate your help here. Let's talk about this case that's coming up out of Philadelphia, where this Catholic Social Services was involved in placement of foster children and adoption, and I guess they did that in conjunction with the city. So can you explain to our listeners a little bit of the background to this story?
Sure. This case is about foster parents like lead plaintiff Sharonell Fulton, who chose to partner with the Catholic Church's foster care agency in Philadelphia. Some of these parents have been working with the Catholic agency for decades. And, they've served dozens of children in need. Sharonell, who's the lead plaintiff, I think she's served over 40 children in her 25 years of fostering. And she's a single black woman in the city who does incredible work. We've spoken to some of the children she's raised, and they talk about her as really a source of light in their lives. But today, the families that partner with this Catholic agency have been told by the city that they can't continue to provide foster care. And the city did this because even though Catholic Social Services and its families serve all children in need, regardless of race, ethnicity, sex, or sexual orientation, as part of the Catholic Church, the foster agency can't endorse same-sex or unmarried relationships, which is a necessary part of the foster parent certification process. So this means that the city is trying to exclude Catholic Social Services from its network of 30 different private agencies that all provide foster care and adoption across the city. And this is keeping these foster parents who chose to work with a Catholic agency because they share its religious beliefs or they were drawn to it because of their own faith. It's keeping these families from serving kids in need today.
Yeah, and I noticed in some of the stories leading up to the lower court rulings that there was some almost blatant anti-Catholicism expressed by some of the people in the city. I think one of the directors of their social service agency in the city suggested that maybe the Catholic social services ought to follow more the line of Pope Francis than the Archbishop of Philadelphia, which I thought was a little bit of meddling in church affairs. But I'm sure that Becket picked up on that.
That's absolutely right. There's a couple different legal claims here. One is that, we argue in the foster care process, it's impossible to have a rule that requires every agency to certify every family. And so if the city gives exemptions to that policy for secular reasons, it can't treat religion worse than, any other reason to help a family find another agency. But you're exactly right. Another argument we're making is that the city basically created this new policy specifically to exclude Catholic social services. What happened is the city learned about Catholic social services religious beliefs through a newspaper article where the agency was interviewed and the reporter asked, what would you do in the hypothetical situation in which a same-sex couple came to your agency and sought to foster? And what they said is, we'd help them find another agency. There are several within a few blocks of us. There are 30 private agencies across the city that do the same work. And it's never happened before. No same-sex couple had approached this Catholic agency. But when the city learned about the agency's religious beliefs, it tried to find a policy to stop them from doing this. And like you said, they told the agency, it wasn't 100 years ago. Their beliefs had to change. They should stop listening to the Archbishop. And actually, unfortunately, there's been some animosity from the mayor himself, who's tweeted over the years, several very critical statements about the Archbishop and the Catholic Church in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I follow a little bit about what's going on in Philadelphia because that's where my family's from. And besides following the Phillies that did not do well this year, and the Eagles, which are on the same path, I've been following this case a little bit, and I've written about it, and it is kind of interesting. Now, the Catholic Social Services took the city to court, and I think they lost on both the district court level and on at the Third Circuit Court of Appeals.
That's right. So yes, what happened is after the city basically shut down Catholic Social Services foster agency and said, we're no longer going to allow you to place children in need with your loving families, Catholic Social Services sought to protect itself and filed a case in federal court. Both the Third Circuit, which is the court in Philadelphia, and the district court basically said, we don't really credit this evidence of discrimination, and we think the court's rule is kind of a generally applicable rule that applies to everybody, so you don't get any relief. We're optimistic that we can ultimately win this case. The Supreme Court chose to grant certiorari in this case, which means they looked at the opinion below and they decided to take the case on the merits. And they're going to hear oral arguments from one of our attorneys in this case in November.
The day after the election.
That the court. The day after the election,
the day after the election. We may have a new justice on the court by then. Yeah. That's also true. So we're, doing our best to prepare for that now, but it's obviously a busy and unusual time to be preparing for oral arguments. It sure is. As you look at appearing before the Supreme Court here, do you have any indication from either other the amici briefs that have been filed, or from reaction in other cases by the various justices in the court of how you think that might go? I know it's kind of like reading a jury. You know, that's tough to do. But anything that has you optimistic or pessimistic at that point,
Yes. So the one thing that has happened earlier in this case is when we lost at the district court, we filed an emergency stay at the Supreme Court, which is a very unusual process. But we decided to take that route because there were foster families who were our clients who either had children in their homes or who had empty beds in their homes, and there was a need for these kids to be cared for. So we said, you know, we think this is really urgent. It's important for the Supreme Court to consider this more quickly than normal, and it's a very high standard to do that. Ultimately, it was an 8-justice court at the time. We asked for this, and we only got 3 justices who agreed with us. But those 3 justices said, we think you have a clear right to relief on the merits, and they would have granted us that very unusual emergency stay. So we're optimistic that at least a couple justices already see the case, hopefully in a way that's favorable to us. But like you said, it's really impossible to know. You know, obviously the facts have changed a little bit since then, and the case continues to develop. So we'll have to wait and see.
One of the ironies of this case, I think, is that just before the city came down on the Catholic social services, they had put out an appeal for additional foster care people.
That's exactly right. You know, there are about 250 children in group homes and in institutional care, which are, you know, not as good as being in a foster home because, you know, you're basically being supervised by a group of people. It's not the same as being in a individual loving home where there's someone who's looking out for you personally. And so those kids, you know, their outcomes would be better on the whole if they are able to be placed with foster families. And like I mentioned before, there are over a dozen families who partner with Catholic Social Services and who have remained committed to this agency, but their homes are empty today. So there are beds where kids could be placed, and you know the city has said, we'd love to keep working with you. You just have to give up your religious beliefs, and you know that's not something the church can do. But it's really tragic to see these kids suffering as a result of the city's actions.
Gina?
Yeah, Nick, there's, by all accounts, from what I've seen, the Catholic Social Services program was one of the most successful in the city of Philadelphia. So you said the city wants to continue working with them. I imagine that's because of their great success. But there are other religious-based foster care agencies. How are they managing through this process with the city's objection to the Catholic agency standing by their tenets of their faith?
That's exactly right. So, you know, before this litigation happened, Catholic Social Services was serving over 100 kids a day across its foster care program, and over 70% of those children were racial minorities, and over 60% of its foster parents were also racial minorities. So they were serving a crucial need in their community and really doing great work. They had incredibly low turnover in their staff and in their foster families. So it really was a great agency, and they are able to kind of continue on for now at a much diminished capacity. But if they're not able to win this case, they'll have to completely close down the foster program. And you know, one thing that we've seen, going to your second question, is we've seen a real outpouring of support from other agencies, not just in Philadelphia, but across the country, in amicus briefs and, in people standing up to talk about this. You know, we have a lot of, agencies and even families who work with other religious agencies across the country who've said, you know, I can't imagine what this would mean for my family if the agency I work with were to close down. One of our good friends in Michigan has said, you know, she's working to adopt through a Catholic agency there, but if they close down, she probably won't be able to complete that adoption.
Right. Michigan, the Catholic agencies in Michigan have been under attack, and I think the Attorney General there cut a sweetheart deal with the ACLU, which was ultimately thrown out by a federal district court that would have basically crushed the Catholic adoption agencies there. But fortunately, that survives now. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah, the district court in Michigan, unlike the one in Philadelphia, granted our clients a preliminary injunction, so they're able to keep serving kids and keep doing their important work today.
So, Nick, as you head to the Supreme Court and we hopefully have a positive outcome, what would be the best outcome of your case, and how would it affect in precedent all of these issues across the United States?
So I think the best outcome would be a recognition by the court that the First Amendment and the Free Exercise Clause actually protect religious exercise, and they protect, the freedom of people who are religious to serve those in need. For example, the Catholic Church in Philadelphia has been engaging in this same ministry for 200 years, and to believe that the Constitution doesn't protect their ability to exercise their religion in this way is really surprising. And I don't think anyone who was around at the founding generation would have thought that. So if the court were to recognize that this is what's protected by the First Amendment, I think that would be a huge win for our clients. And in terms of what precedent this could set, I talked a little bit about these agencies all across the country. Everybody's really looking to this case to see what the Supreme Court says. And in addition to the over 8,000 faith-affirming foster agencies across the country, if Catholic Social Services were to lose, it could have really tragic implications for, religious homeless shelters or religious prison ministries or any other religious ministry that has to work with the government in some way. Because what the government is arguing is, because you have to have a license and you have to partner with the government to provide foster care, because there's no other way to put kids in loving homes except when the government rescues them from these negligent and abusive situations, you lose all First Amendment rights when you partner with the government in this way. So that could affect all kinds of other programs. So it's an important case, and we're really hoping and praying that it goes well.
Agreed.
If people want more information on what Becket does and on this case, how do they get it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a website that you can go to called www.free2foster.org, FREETO foster.org, or you can go to our law firm website, becketlaw.org. And on both of those pages, you can learn more about this case and learn more about Becket's work as well.
And find out that the work that they're doing is a charitable exercise. They're a 501c3 organization. If anybody's got a few extra bucks that are interested in legal rights of
supporting the cause.
Right,
That's
supporting the cause. Nick, thank you for joining us today. We certainly appreciate you joining us and explaining to us what's going on in Philadelphia. And we wish you a lot of luck with the hearing that you come up, or the oral argument that is coming up on the 4th.
Great. Thank you so much.
Certainly. God bless you. You're doing God's work. Thank you very much. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio, and we will be back in just a few minutes.
Is it time for a new roof? Then it could be time for you to get to know Bell Construction. Bell Construction is a roofing company entering its 30th year of business. They specialize in residential re-roofs, like commercial jobs, and have the experience to meet all of your roofing needs with personal service. With Bell Construction, the owner will come to your home or place of business in person to inspect and ensure the quality of work that you deserve. They pride themselves in working with you on a personal basis and making sure you are satisfied. Bell Construction, 515-963-4494.
Thank you, Big Red Q Quick Print, for underwriting the sports report. Family owned and operated since 1980, Big Red Q Quick Print is a full-service print shop ready to help you with all your printing needs with speed and accuracy. Forms, manuals, brochures, letterhead, envelopes, business cards, custom invitations, design, and bindery. Big Red Q Quick Print, located across from Merle Hay Mall. Online at bigredq-desmoines.com. Big Red Q Quick Print. We make printing easy.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Catholic Tuition Organization.
Your support of CTO provides qualifying families tuition assistance to send their kiddos to our Catholic schools. They benefit, and you benefit, with 65% Iowa tax credits. Online at ctoiowa.org.
Until December 15th, contributions from new donors are matched. New donors double their impact with a donation to CTO, thanks to the Reichart Family Foundation.
The bottom line, it's for the kids and their future. Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Dowling Catholic Sports is provided in part by Ashworth Vision Clinic. With 2 licensed optometrists, Barbara Sheets, a Dowling graduate, and Dr. Craig Harper, the Ashworth Vision Clinic team provides complete eye exams, contact lenses, glasses, glaucoma testing, and pre- and post-operative care. Ashworth Vision Clinic is located at 60th and Ashworth in West Des Moines. 515-440-4610 or online, ashworthvision.com.
Thank you, Dental Associates, for underwriting Dowling Catholic Sports 365. With over 40 years' experience, Dental Associates is a group dental practice with the mission of promoting optimum health and well-being to all patients, providing preventative, restorative, and cosmetic dentistry for the entire family. Message underwritten by Dr. Kenton Gleichman, Dr. Steve Karbaka, Dr. Christine Mulcahy, and Dr. Ben Nagel. Dental Associates, addressing your smile, needs, and dreams. Online at DesMoines-DentalAssociates.com.
Here's your forecast on Iowa Catholic Radio. Sunny, breezy, and cool through the afternoon. Wind gusting to 25 miles per hour and will be in the mid-50s. Upper 30s and partly cloudy overnight. Sunny tomorrow, breezy, and upper 50s. The weather is brought to you by Rock Valley Physical Therapy. Outstanding outpatient physical therapy and sports medicine rehabilitation with 7 convenient locations in the Des Moines Metro and Southwest Iowa area. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton on Iowa Catholic Radio.
And we're back. My ears on here so I can hear. Gina and I were just chatting as the commercials were going on.
Such an interesting case, yes.
Yes. All right, so we are back. This is Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio. And we have with us Logan Spena from the Alliance Defending Freedom. Logan, how are you this morning?
I'm doing very well. How are you guys?
Just fine. You did fairly well a week or so ago at Florida State University. I know you didn't get all that you wanted, but you're defending this Catholic student body president that was removed from office by the name of Jack Denton. You want to give us a little bit of the backstory to that so that we can fill our listeners in on what's going on?
Certainly. So Jack Denton is a Catholic student at Florida State University, and he was the president of the Student Senate down there. Jack's also a member of the Catholic Student Union, and the Student Union has a group chat for the members to communicate with one another in a private text messaging. Over the summer, somebody shared a video in that group chat that raises money based on the number of views for a number of nonprofit organizations, but among those include the ACLU and the website blacklivesmatter.com. Jack saw that shared in the chat, and he wanted to make sure that his fellow Catholic students were aware of what they might be financially supporting. So we sent a message to explain that the ACLU and the website blacklivesmatter.com support certain policies that are contrary to the Catholic Church's teachings. So we shared that in the group chat. Some other people shared his messages, and people took his words out of context and were outraged, and so he was removed from his position as president of the Student Senate. So we filed a lawsuit on Jack's behalf, and last Friday the court found that his rights were violated by removing him from that position and ordered the university to pay him prospectively as the rightful Student Senate president.
Okay. Now, one of the things that you had asked for was that he be reinstated as Student Senate president. One of the problems with that, I think, was that his term was almost expired. But what did the court say to that?
The court did not grant that request, but it's important to understand that the request was made as part of a preliminary injunction request. That's asking for an order before the case is over and done with. So the court didn't grant that request at this point, but the court ultimately still said that Jack's showing, even at this preliminary stage, was so clear that his rights were violated that it still did take the step of ordering the state officials, the university, to pay him as the rightful Student Senate president. And that's still a really big win for Jack.
Yeah. Now, what else were you asking for in that lawsuit that may yet be decided?
Sure. So the lawsuit requests the payment going forward, which the court has ordered already, and it requests compensation for payment that he would have received for the time that he lost, and it's asking for a declaratory judgment that the action was wrong by both the university and the Student Senate, and it's asking for reinstatement, because certainly the term is not over, and to the extent that we can get that relief for Jack, we're going to pursue it.
Okay, and I take it that also includes attorney's fees and all this other stuff that goes along with it, costs and things.
That is correct.
Right, okay. So the judge, it looks like, as I read, I think it was a 25-page ruling. He took the position, I think, that basically this is kind of the case is almost self-proving. That it's everything, all the elements are there, and there's really no dispute with a lot of the factual matters that came before the court.
Yeah, so I'm kind of looking at the opinion now because you mentioned that, and the court said to state the obvious, expressing one's religious views as Denton did is a constitutionally protected activity, and the court goes on to emphasize that, quote, Denton easily makes this showing. That he's met the elements for his claim. So yeah, you're exactly right about how strong the court's opinion is with respect to the facts here and the fact that the Student Senate violated Jack's constitutional rights.
Unfortunately, I have to read all of these things, which is why my eyes are getting weaker and weaker, and I had to get new glasses this week. But yeah, it's.
I'm glad you have taken the time to read through it because it's a really good opinion.
It is. I thought it was good, and I thought the judge did explain away the non-reinstatement part fairly well, and one of the things that the court pointed out in his ruling that there was so much animus going on that it would be unlikely that he'd be unable to work cooperatively with these people that had just thrown him out of office.
Right, so we don't ultimately agree with the judge's conclusion there. We think that Jack could be able to effectively oversee the Senate because there's such a strong incentive for the Senate to fulfill its function because they oversee $13 million of funding per year. Mm-hmm. So we ultimately don't agree with the court's conclusion there. However, I think the court did do a pretty good job in terms of trying to be fair, understanding the facts, trying to balance the issues. You can't, the judge, I think, was a very fair-minded judge and has issued a well-reasoned opinion, even though we wouldn't ultimately agree with all of the conclusions that are in it.
No, but I think you certainly made your point. Now, one of the problems in this case, too, was the fact that there was an appeal process within the student government organization that was omitted. Can you tell us why that was omitted?
Do you mean the process omitted, or are you talking about omitted from the opinion? Or
No. He had an appeal, I guess, to the Student Supreme Court, and he didn't get to do that.
That's right. So the first thing we did was file an appeal with the Student Supreme Court because we hoped to resolve this without having to file a lawsuit in federal court to resolve it through the internal processes, because it was clear that what happened not only violated federal law, it also violated the student government's own statutes and rules prohibiting religious discrimination, along with the university's policies prohibiting religious discrimination. So we tried to go that route. But what happened was, it was over the summer, and there were a couple of vacancies on the Student Supreme Court, which prevented it from hearing the appeal. There were justices that were nominated to sit on that court that the Student Senate then refused to confirm, and some of the senators even explicitly stated on the record that one reason they didn't want to do that was because of our pending complaint on Jack's behalf. So that was one of the reasons that we decided to ultimately go to court, was because the student government there was interdicting the appeal that we tried to file through their own internal process.
And then, of course, the university itself had final control, and I understand that there was some communication attempted with the university that was not reciprocated.
That is correct. So after we filed the initial...
I told you I read these things.
Yeah, we appreciate this. How familiar you are with what's going on here, because
well,
it's very important.
Technically, I'm still an allied attorney, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an important disclosure, I reckon. No, so... we filed the appeal after it looked like the Student Supreme Court might not take notice of the appeal. We then sent an initial letter to the the Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Hecht, asking just to ensure that the process would be allowed to go forward, and they didn't respond to that letter at all. So then we sent a second letter and said, we're going to appeal this on the merits to you, since there's no functioning judicial branch at all to appeal to, and they responded to that with some claim that they wouldn't be able to take action, which, of course, we disagree with as a matter of the authority that they have under the state law and the Board of Trustees regulations, but that was their claim, and so that was what led us to file the lawsuit.
That was actually my question with this ruling. Well, when we first listened to this case and we talked about Jack's situation, that was my initial reaction was, okay, this is all student-led. Where is the university in all of this? And I was told, not at all. You know, the university is hands-off. They let the student body maintain this autonomy. But it looks like the university was included in the suit and has been put on notice. And how does this affect other universities? Will this have some kind of precedent? And I ask that because I know that depending on where you are in the country and what kind of campus you are on, there's quite a bit of hostility towards practicing Catholics, students who are practicing Catholics. And I think these kinds of things are helpful for them as they go about their campus life.
The basis for holding both the university and the student senate responsible in this case flows from established legal principles. But one thing that's important to know at the outset is that under Florida statutory law, the student government is a part of the state university at which it operates. So that may not be, there are many states that don't have a similar statute. I think there are some others that do. So that's going to be kind of one of the initial things to look at. Is there a state law that establishes the student government as a part of the university? Here there is such a law. And then additionally, with respect to the actual facts of this case, the student senate president at FSU is paid out of student activity fees, and those student activity fees are processed through the Department of Student Affairs. So as of necessity, the university administration is recognizing and enforcing the removal of Jack and the recognition of their replacement president. And so there's direct action by the university all through this, including what I just mentioned with respect to the payment, including the issues that we talked about a minute ago with Dr. Hecht and the appeals. There was even participation in the initial meeting. So there's direct action on the part of the university that renders them responsible in this instance.
Well, I am very impressed by this Jack Denton and his ability to be such a leader, both in the school for other students and for Catholic students.
Yeah. Logan, there are a lot of other cases around the country dealing with issues on college campuses that involve a lot of times with Catholic or conservative Christian groups. Where do you see this going? I'm sure ADF has had a lot of these cases. I'm not sure. There was one, Business Leaders in Christ, at the University of Iowa. I don't know if that was a ADF case or not, but it seems to me every time I turn around, I'm seeing a case involving students who are trying to do something and are being discriminated against because of their religious beliefs. They're being defunded by the university, or their clubs are being dissolved and not recognized because they have Christian views. What's going on?
It's certainly a problem, and what ADF is trying to establish everywhere is that students should be able to peacefully share their views with other students, no matter what those views are. And the entire point is that tolerance is a two-way street, right? If you're going to demand that people are tolerant or be allowed to speak, it's going to have to work for everybody. Now, as you mentioned, there's definitely problems facing conservative Christians at this point, but other people as well throughout the country. But what's important to recognize here, and in many of ADF's other cases, the court has recognized time and time again that students do not lose their First Amendment freedoms when they step on a university campus. And in this case, the court recognized that that includes when a student decides to participate in student government.
And in addition to the religious claims, there's also a lot of free speech claims that are going on college campuses. It seems like I don't know if it's in the water on these college campuses that these professors are drinking or what, but we just had a case not too long ago just north of here in Ames, Iowa, at Iowa State University, where I got my master's degree, so I shouldn't speak too badly
poorly of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the professor said that if you don't agree with her on certain political issues, get out of the class. You can't come.
But the university told her.
The university
that can't
cracked
happen.
down on her. But is this more prevalent than I seem to think, or is it less prevalent, or what?
It's certainly prevalent. I really can't say whether it's more prevalent or less prevalent than you seem to think. But
I think it's pretty prevalent.
But yeah, it's certainly prevalent. But the good thing is there are strong legal principles that are able to protect students in these cases. And we're having a very consistent level of success, to the extent that these we're able to deal with the various issues relating to qualified immunity and things like that. But the courts are pretty consistent in holding that students don't lose their rights to free exercise or free expression when they step on a college campus. And Jack's example, applying that to participation in student government, is a really great and recent win on that point.
This seems like a giant game of whack-a-mole. That as soon as you knock one down, another one pops up someplace.
So how do
that is in some respects correct, yeah.
Go ahead, Gina.
So, I was just going to mention that Logan's organization, Alliance Defending Freedom, can help you if you know of a case.
That's right. And let's see, that's adflegal.org. Is that how we get a hold of you?
That is correct.
And again, ADF is, like Becket in our last segment, a 501c3 organization. So if anybody wants to support their work here, they represent these people on a pro bono basis. And maybe not exactly pro bono, because they're entitled to attorney's fees they usually get from the other side when they win a case. But if you have any spare change laying around, that would certainly help them out.
It certainly would.
Good work, Logan.
Yeah, very good work. Very good work. Certainly appreciate it. We'll keep in touch. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Have a great morning and afternoon.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Logan Spena with the Alliance Defending Freedom. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Catholic Tuition Organization.
Your support of CTO provides qualifying families tuition assistance to send their kiddos to our Catholic schools. They benefit, and you benefit, with 65% Iowa tax credits. Online at ctoiowa.org.
Until December 15th, contributions from new donors are matched. New donors double their impact with a donation to CTO, thanks to the Reichart Family Foundation.
The bottom line, it's for the kids and their future. Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Dowling Catholic Sports is provided in part by Ashworth Vision Clinic. With 2 licensed optometrists, Barbara Sheets, a Dowling graduate, and Dr. Craig Harper, the Ashworth Vision Clinic team provides complete eye exams, contact lenses, glasses, glaucoma testing, and pre- and post-operative care. Ashworth Vision Clinic is located at 60th and Ashworth in West Des Moines. 515-440-4610 or online, ashworthvision.com.
Thank you, Dental Associates, for underwriting Dowling Catholic Sports 365. With over 40 years' experience, Dental Associates is a group dental practice with the mission of promoting optimum health and well-being to all patients, providing preventative, restorative, and cosmetic dentistry for the entire family. Message underwritten by Dr. Kenton Gleichman, Dr. Steve Karbaka, Dr. Christine Mulcahy, and Dr. Ben Nagel. Dental Associates, addressing your smile, needs, and dreams. Online at DesMoines-DentalAssociates.com.
Thank you, Skeffington's Formal Wear, for sponsoring Dowling Catholic High School football. In business since 1951, Skeffington's Formal Wear offers quality service, style, and selection, providing tuxedos, suits, and casual groom attire for weddings, proms, and any other special occasion. Skeffington's Formal Wear, with convenient locations in Des Moines, West Des Moines, Davenport, Coralville, and Ankeny. All locations are family-owned and operated by members in their respective communities, fitting you for life celebrations. Online at skeffingtons.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Faith on Trial provided by Paul Martin and Paul Mitchell, owners of Imogene Ingredients. Imogene Ingredients supply specialized feed ingredients for livestock and pet diets to improve maternal and young animal health in both conventional and organic production. Information about Pharmatan and other products at ImogeneIngredients.com. Paul and Paul are members of St. Augustine's Knights of Columbus and encourage their brother knights to keep standing for their faith.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Storm Alert Weather is provided by Divine Treasures. Divine Treasures is a Catholic book and gift store serving the Des Moines community for over 25 years. Their mission is to help Catholics know, love, and keep their faith in our Lord Jesus Christ and His Church. Divine Treasures is where you can find great Catholic books, beautiful Bibles, rosaries, jewelry, statues, and religious gifts for those memorable events in your life. Divine Treasures, 5701 Hickman Road, Des Moines, 515-255-5230. Thank you to Divine Treasures for their support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
And welcome back. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio. Gina, we had another interesting show today.
Yes, I'm just so fascinated when we're able to follow up on a story as it develops and then have a positive outcome.
Right, because we talked about this last story, Jack Denton.
Back in the spring.
Right. July 2nd, I think, was when we had
in the
him on.
summer.
Yeah,
That's
summer.
clearly summer, sorry.
Yeah.
I felt like spring.
Well,
we had a beautiful summer.
We were just getting out of our internment at home.
Well, and it answered a lot of as the case progressed, it answered a lot of the questions we had in the beginning. How are they going to resolve it? Mm-hmm. And why is the university not stepping up and protecting this young man's rights? Mm-hmm. And they obviously didn't want to.
And it cost them.
It did cost them.
And it's going to cost them some more because ultimately, when you get one of these preliminary injunctions that they were asking for, you're asking the court to rule preliminarily on a case that it has not yet heard.
Are you telling me Jack's going to make money on this?
I don't know if he's going to make money or not, but he's going to come out whole. Okay, because the judge has already tipped his hands on this, saying this guy has made the case. It's obvious that something happened that's wrong. Their hearing that they had last Friday, I guess it was, when the ruling came down, the hearing was not an evidentiary ruling. They didn't have, nobody asked to present witnesses because the facts were pretty much cut and dry. They did their briefs, their written arguments, and this is what the judge came up with. And I read that 25-page thing, and he did explain why he didn't put him back very well, although I understand why they would be disappointed that he didn't get reinstated. But there was an appropriate explanation for that, I thought, but he certainly came down on the student side. And we see this. How many times have we seen this on college campuses where a student is being penalized for his beliefs, for his speech, for his religion, or we have seen groups like, I think it was in Iowa State, or the University City. Of Iowa. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the business leaders in Christ were thrown out of the
not recognized as an organization by the university.
They had been recognized, and then the recognition was withdrawn. And now they've lost on that a couple of times. I think that's up in the Eighth Circuit right now. But they're losing on these cases. And this is something that I think we have to point out, too. Fortunately, most of these cases, the judges are giving us fair and honest opinions and rulings
based on the Constitution.
Based on the Constitution and based on our religious liberty rights. Some people say that our freedom of religion only applies to our freedom of worship, which means it's limited to Sunday in church, in the church building. Mm-hmm. What you do outside of that, it doesn't cover, but it does. And that's the free exercise clause. And that's what people want to curb. And we see this all the time, people trying to curb people's exercise of religion. And the courts, fortunately, have been upholding the traditional value that we have placed in that free exercise clause and have been protecting people like Jack Denton in Florida and others, business leaders in Christ at the Iowa State or the University of Iowa and other places. And I get these things every day. I get emails and notices of all sorts of different complaints and cases, and I'll tell you, we could probably do an hour show almost every day, if we had somebody to book all these people for us. I didn't, right? Because they're out there. And our salvation right now as a people, besides our belief in God and, asking for divine protection, is in courts right now to protect our religious liberty. And that liberty is seriously under attack right now. And that's why we need strong people with the proper values on the courts. And this is why I'm so hoping that Amy Coney Barrett is approved by the Senate and would take her. And as she takes her seat, if she's approved on schedule, she will hear this Philadelphia case that we talked about today.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I think as a mother of adopted children, I think she would be great to hear that case.
I think she would too. Of course, she was criticized for that in the court or in the Senate battle. Anyway, let's end with our prayer to St. Michael. St. Michael, the archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls.
Amen.
That's it for now. For Gina and myself, thank you for listening. Join us next week for another edition of Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio. Until then, have a blessed and peaceful week.
Our freedom of conscience and religion is being challenged by laws and regulations imposed by secular society. Faith on Trial with Defender of the Faith, Deacon Mike Mano. Faith on Trial, Thursdays at 10 a.m. on Iowa Catholic Radio, iowacatholicradio.com, and the Iowa Catholic Radio app.
Support for Faith on Trial and Iowa Catholic Radio provided in part by Imogene Ingredients.